On one occasion, someone approached me as a priest with great concern that they had committed a major sin because they had told a lie. And I asked, well, what exactly was the lie you told? And believe it or not, they actually said that they had a coworker who had a new dress, and they asked, how do you like the dress? And I thought it was hideous, but I told them it looked nice. So I lied to them, and I'm guilty of lying. As ludicrous as that might sound, and as humorous as it might be, there's a little bit more to the commandment about lying that comes from the 10 Commandments. I asked the person, I said, do you think it would have gone over better if you had told them that that dress was the most hideous thing they'd ever seen? And it made them smile and say, well, no, of course not. I said, so in effect, you spared their feelings, and you avoided devastating them and embarrassing them. So what does it mean from the commandment that we receive in the 10 Commandments? It states, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Now, obviously, that puts it in a very legal context. Because again, what holds a society together? In addition to the family unit, which we see accounted for in the 10 Commandments, in addition to the respect for life and the integrity of marriage. Also, justice is an important part of the fabric of a society. Once justice is diminished, so too does a society not exist for much longer. And justice depends upon the truth. In offering testimony, we must not bear false witness against your neighbor. And so we can understand that commandment in a couple of ways. The legal way, in which in this court setting, when we take a promise to tell the truth, we must tell the truth. But as the scriptures progress, we see an equal progression in what it means to be people of the truth, not just in the legal sense, but in the moral sense as well. Now, does this mean we engage in absolute truth in everything? Well, I think in the example I gave at the beginning, the answer is certainly not. We don't want to be so brutally honest that we are inconsiderate of other people's feelings. But at the same time, we value and cherish truth. And we must be known as people of the truth. Jesus himself says, the truth will set you free. But at the same time, St. Paul says, say only the good things people need to hear, things that will really help them. And so it's a discerning issue. We certainly don't want to steal someone's reputation by lying about them, saying a falsity against someone that does damage to their good name, damage to their reputation. But brutal honesty is not something that the scriptures advocate either, but rather the general notion that we as a people of faith should not be known as people who are lightly cavalier when it comes to the truth. One example I always like to give is a friend of mine who worked with the youth. At one time, in just a discussion with them, asked them, if you were to put a dollar value on your word, what dollar value would you give to it? And of course, the kids immediately said, oh, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million. That's how much their word is worth. Then he clarified it and he said, so if you were to tell me a lie, you would owe me that much money. In other words, how much is your word worth? How much can you assure anyone that you are a person who tells the truth? So that if in the event you might happen on such a rare occasion to actually lie, the value of your word would be all the more meaningful in that you owe me that amount of money if you tell a lie. So if a person says their word isn't worth much, it's worth a low dollar value, their word is cheap, you would say that that person is prone to not telling the truth. But Jesus perhaps places it in the best context in the Sermon on the Mount in the Gospel of Matthew, when he speaks about swearing oaths. When we think about it, why do we need to swear oaths? Because we need to give extra assurances that what we are saying is in fact the truth. But if we are already known as people of the truth, we don't need the oaths. And in fact, why do we need them? Because we know human beings are prone to the lie as opposed to the truth. But Jesus says it very, very plainly, and in, one might say, a somewhat dramatic context. When in the Gospel of Matthew, on the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says, "Do not swear at all, not by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Do not swear by your head, for you cannot make a single hair white or black. Let your yes mean yes, and your no mean no. Anything more is from the evil one." So he gradually builds up to that dramatic ending. Let your yes mean yes, your no mean no. Anything else is against the moral standard that God calls us to live in virtue of the 10 Commandments. And it fits perfectly in with that commandment, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Does it mean we're brutally honest? No. Does it mean we tell all the truth all the time? No. We certainly would spare people's feelings. And as Paul says, say only the good things people need to hear, things that will really help them. But it does set a standard for people who call ourselves followers of Christ, members of God's holy people, and in general, more universal understanding that we are human beings made in God's image and likeness, that we must be people of the truth, legal truth as well as moral truth. What dollar value would we put on our word? How well are we known or not known as people of the truth? And so in hearing that commandment, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor, it is a commandment that protects the integrity of justice that holds a society together. But also for us, especially in the Christian sense, let us heed that commandment so that we can be known as people of the truth, who do not need to swear by anything because we are already known as people of the truth.